experience the unique relationship between a student and his teacher. Daniil Trifonov's career has been on the fast track ever since winning both the Tchaikovsky and the Rubinstein competitions in 2011. Highlights from his performances this season include appearances with the San Francisco Symphony and Philadelphia orchestras, and later this week he'll be playing Rachmaninoff with the New York Philharmonic at David Geffen Hall as part of their Rachmaninoff Festival. WQXR will broadcast that concert live on Thursday night at 7:30. The French newspaper Le Figaro said this about Sergei Babayan: he has unequaled touch, perfectly harmonious phrasing, and breathtaking virtuosity. Babayan has performed with all the major orchestras of the world. This season alone, he has appearances with the Rotterdam Philharmonic, conducted by Valery Gergiev, also Camerata Israel in Tel Aviv, performances at the Edinburgh Festival, Wigmore Hall, and recitals and chamber music concerts in the US, including in Los Angeles and Atlanta. In addition to his performing career, Sergei Babayan is also a teacher at the Cleveland Institute of Music, where he founded the Piano Academy back in 1996. Tonight, these two are going to play Rachmaninoff's Suite No. 2 for two pianos. Rachmaninoff composed this suite as an antidote to a depression that he was going through after he received intense criticism after his Symphony No. 1. Now, Rachmaninoff took a 3-year hiatus from composing, and then in 1901, he returned to composing with this work and also his second piano concerto. So please join me now in welcoming Daniil Trifonov and Sergei Babayan in the green space. The Suite Number 2 in C minor for two pianos by Sergei Rachmaninoff, performed by Sergei Babayan and Daniil Trifonov, live in the Jerome L. Green Performance Space. Thank you so much for that terrific performance.
Thank you for having us.
What kind of communication has to happen between the two of you to make this piece work?
I think love for Rachmaninoff, love for music, and love for each other, probably too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely evident. I can see in your playing. Lots of hours of practice for that.
Yes and no, because he has no more time nowadays. He has too busy. These days too busy, really too busy, too much. But I think he's happy, and that's very important.
How much do you perform as a duo?
As much as his time allows.
Well, Daniil, how much do you consult with Sergei about your technique, the repertoire, your approach? How much are you still doing that?
Well, every time there is opportunity, of course, when there is especially the new program, I always try to play it. And of course, there are always a lot of things to work on. And it's this, I don't think that one ever grows up of the period when you need great advice, and I think it's I'm very happy that I can still play for all my new programs.
Now, Russian is your common language, so was that one of the reasons why you wanted to study with Sergei?
No, the first reason is that I wanted to study with Sergei, and also I have been studying before in Moscow with Tatiana Zelikman, and also it was her recommendation as well.
Mm-hmm. You were referred to him, and
yeah.
Okay.
You
and
know, when he called me, sorry, I have to say this. He called me and I asked him, why do you want to study with me? Because I was curious, and the answer was so honest. That was one of the reasons I felt it might work. He said, I trust my teacher. It means he just trusted his teacher. So his teacher is the one who heard me playing, and I was playing on the 75th birthday of my teacher, Vera Gornostaeva, in Moscow, in the Bolshoi Zal of Moscow Conservatory, in the big hall, and she was there in that concert. And so when he asked, with whom should I study in the United States, there was a sponsor who was going to help. She told that he should come to study with me, and he just simply trusted her. That's how it was.
Excellent. And what do you feel is the most important thing that Sergei has taught you?
Well, of course, it's difficult to just pick out one something singular, because on the lesson there is always a multitude of aspects being viewed upon. But probably the spontaneity is one of
Spontaneity.
yeah.
One of the things that you feel.
One of the most important things, I think.
Interesting. Okay.
I didn't know, but now.
To be spontaneous about your playing. And
Yes, it is important. It's one of the lost qualities these days because of the era of the CDs and perfectionism and, 200 takes, and then they pick just that one chord from there and then they glue it somehow together. Now, yes, we know that, yes, so. And spontaneity is something which pianists like Horowitz, Cortot, old school, they had that. And I think we should come back to it, so.
Definitely. Now, Daniil, are you yourself teaching or mentoring anyone at this time?
No.
Not yet. Well, tell us about Rachmaninoff, why you're so passionate about him.
Well, actually, I haven't played Rachmaninoff music until quite recently, a few years ago. It was already when I moved to Cleveland, when I was introduced to a lot of Rachmaninoff repertoire, and I believe it's important not to start playing Rachmaninoff too early, as certain maturity is needed for this music. And
okay, and at 24, you're feeling sure enough to dive in. Sergei, what were your impressions of Daniil when you first met him?
Well, I think I told this a million times in the different interviews, but I will say the same thing because it didn't change, so I have to repeat myself. So the first, when I looked even at his hands, and so I thought he must be good for Chopin. And then I heard his YouTube clips he sent me. And I heard Chopin Scherzo No. 4. And I already knew that probably he should prepare for Chopin competition. If there were some aspects which I thought I could change and help and develop, but he played a lot of Chopin, really prepared 5 years for that competition, learned that year. So with others, I felt that he doesn't waste time, extremely focused, and for that we have to thank his parents, his teacher, who brought him, because that age when children are 11, 12, that's very important, So I would thank again his parents, again Tatiana Zelikman, and of course his nature, God, and whatever ingredients he had in. So he was always in the music. I don't remember him wasting time speaking or something. I would feel that he gets itch if he doesn't play, if he doesn't compose, or he does something. And so that love makes him so different from others.
Okay. And, every teacher has his or her own approach to teaching. How would you describe your own approach when teaching, and why do you think it works so well with Daniil?
No, I wouldn't say that I have some kind of routine, because I think my routine is more, I would say, breaking the routine. So no rules. To approach everyone to see what they lack at this moment, at this age. So I have some colleagues, when you bring, let's say, Beethoven sonata, they would tell you the same thing to the same person. So that's what I try not to be that way, because Daniil needed something else, not some other people I would need to spend time with the fingering. In the beginning, he needed much more detailed lessons. Once he understood me, now we are more like colleagues. I don't feel anymore as a teacher-student thing. There are some moments with a new piece, maybe for a few minutes, but then it's different. And very many things I learned from him. And not only from him, from other gifted people. I learn myself from them, because when you teach on that level, when you have this kind of gifted people, that's a different level of teaching. So teaching is just like a movie director who sees, first like casting agent, who sees a repertoire, what this actor will be good for. So to give a correct repertoire, to develop the strong sides, and to develop also weak sides, but not to show them to the audience. So with Daniil, I don't think there are some weak sides really serious, which but so yes, we remember, yes, some things like with Bach and Beethoven, but not anymore. He played Opus 111 last year, and it was very, very, very deep and very special. So no, I think it's more like breaking the rule rather than following a rule.
And you also have an affinity for Rachmaninoff. Not only are you named for him,
yes, yes. I think it's not only me. You could ask millions of Russians who became pianists, not only, everywhere. And even people who fall in love with classical music, the first who brings them is Rachmaninoff.
Now, Daniil, you're performing with the New York Philharmonic in a 3-week festival. Which is totally about Rachmaninoff. Have you ever performed a composer's work in such an intense, short period of time all at once?
I have performed the Rachmaninoff concerti throughout the last several months in London. It was several concerts in spring and several concerts in autumn. But this is the first time when I'm playing the whole cycle in one setting, and of course I'm very honored and very excited about this project.
What's it like to play with the New York Philharmonic?
Well, I'm very happy to come back to play with this great orchestra. Just recently, I have been playing with them Rachmaninoff Concerto No. 1 last winter, and I still have very warm memories from that experience.
Well, this is going to be an intense 3 weeks, and we're looking forward to that. Now, in a moment, we're going to hear a piece called Rachmaniana that you composed, and you've composed other works as well. And so you're carrying on a tradition that used to be quite normal, composer and pianist. How's that going?
Well, I actually began as a composer.
Okay.
when I was 5 years old. That's basically what brought me to piano.
Really?
The piano was just the instrument which was best to use to express the compositional ideas. And there were times when I stopped composing for some time, but then in Cleveland, I began composing again. And the piece I'm going to play, I have composed in my first year.
Your very first year in Cleveland?
First year in Cleveland.
Okay.
It was about 5 years ago.
And how does composing actually inform your musical interpretation of playing anything, really? Does it help or give you a different perspective?
I think it works both ways in the sense that also the music which has been performed is influencing in some ways the composition. And of course, if there is one point which probably helps in interpreting music of other people in the composition is the relation of ideas between each other and the relation of details and the reasons for them and the general development of those ideas and how they're related to each other, kind of cause and effect.
Cause and effect.
Cause
and
effect.
effect. Okay. Now your playing has been described as both visceral and ethereal, also demonic and tender at the same time. What's the most important thing for you to communicate when you're playing?
Well, I believe that on the performances, performance is a great opportunity to fade off the material world and to join to the more spiritual values, which are very often being implemented in music.
Fade from the material world and join the spiritual world. So tell us about Rachmaniana, your own composition. How did you come to write it?
Well, there was various reasons, and of course, in my first year in Cleveland, it was the first time I was away from my home country for a very long time, and of course, there were moments of homesickness from time to time, but also I was at the same time inspired with a new environment around me, and as a matter of fact, it's a suite containing 5 pieces, and I think 4 of them were actually composed after I had lessons with Sergei.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons I dedicated that.
You dedicated it to Sergei.
Yes, this is. I feel ashamed that I never could learn the piece, but he plays it so beautifully. Why would someone else learn now at this point? I think it should be introduced by him. Also because, not only because he plays it so beautifully, he knows now. He will open the tradition for us, then we will study his recording, and then we will start playing it. It will be our model, and we go further. So yes, it's a difficult piece, very demanding, I think, pianistically. He doesn't think so, of course, because he wrote it himself.
Easy
so
for him.
I think it's not easy, but it's beautifully written, and I think it has his own. He has already his own face as a composer, even though we feel the Rachmaninoff is standing the shadow of Rachmaninoff, of course, and we feel that influence, and we have to because it's called Rachmaniana. So, but he has already his own there things which make it very unique. It's very special. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to clear the stage and we'll hear Daniil Trifonov perform his own work, Rachmaniana. A reminder that Daniil Trifonov will be performing with the New York Philharmonic later this week as part of their Rachmaninoff Festival, Christian Machalaru conducting. Daniil Trifonov with Rachmaniana live in the Jerome L. Green Performance Space. Daniil Trifonov. Daniil Trifonov performing live in the Jerome L. Green Performance Space in New York City. That was his own work, Rachmaniana. A big thank you to you. And Sergei Babayan, come back up here. A big thank you to you as well. Thank you. Just another reminder that Daniil will be performing with the New York Philharmonic starting this Wednesday night with Christian Macellaro conducting. It's part of the Philharmonic's Rachmaninoff Festival, and it features Daniil throughout the next 3 weeks. Thursday's concert with the Philharmonic will be broadcast live on WQXR starting at 7:30 p.m. Thank you all for coming, and have a good night. The chance to experience the